In this video, we are going to take what we learned in part 1 of converting metric units of area, and we're going to apply it to word problems. So let's begin. Example 1 says, a sheet of computer paper measures 216 millimeters by 279 millimeters. Okay, we're going to assume that this computer paper is in the shape of a rectangle. Okay, so we have length and width. The question is asking, what is the area of the sheet of paper, but they wanted in square centimeters. So there's quite a bit to unpack here, but I'm going to give you a strategy. Whenever a question gives you some dimensions of a shape or an object, you should start by sketching that shape. Okay, so like we said, we're assuming that this is a piece of rectangular paper. The length, so that's this number here, is 279 millimeters, and the width, the smaller number here, is 216 millimeters. The first thing we do after we label our diagram is we check if the units are the same. So the width is in millimeters, the length is in millimeters, so that's great. We can move on. The question is asking us to calculate the area of the sheet of paper. So we're looking at the space inside, right? Now, if we calculate the space inside, the number will be, so it'll be some number, but the units will be in square millimeters. Why is that? That's because this is in millimeters and this is in millimeters. So the answer will be in square millimeters. But the question is saying they want the answer in square centimeters. So that means we'll have an extra step after we find the area. Not a problem. So let's first write down what our steps are so that we can keep track of them as we're solving this problem. So step number 1, we're going to calculate the area, but we're going to calculate it in millimeters squared. Step number 2, we're going to take that number that's already in millimeters squared and we're going to convert it to centimeters squared. Okay, so let's begin with step number 1. Let's calculate the area. So the formula that we're going to use here, because we're working with a rectangle, is length times width. Area is equal to length times width. So what is the length here? 279 meters. What is the width? 216 millimeters. Oh, sorry. This was supposed to be millimeters. I wrote meters by accident. Okay, so now let's multiply those numbers on our calculator. 279 multiplied by 216, and that gives us 60,264. The units will be millimeters times millimeters is millimeters squared. Okay, so now step number 1 is complete. We calculated the area of this sheet of paper in millimeters squared. Now let's move on to step number 2. We're going to take this number, this area that's in millimeters squared, and we're going to convert it to centimeters squared. Now we've done this in the examples from the last video. So we always start by writing down the conversion fact for length. Okay, so from our formula sheet, we know that 10 millimeters is equal to 1 centimeter. Okay, so this is the conversion fact for length. We want the fact for area. Okay, so how do we go from 10 to 1? The number is getting smaller. We divide by 10. Here, because we're dealing with area, we divide by 10 twice. Okay, so take this number here right now on your calculator, divide it by 10, find the answer, then divide it by 10 again. And the answer should be, I'm going to try to squeeze it in because I'm running out of room, should be 602.64 centimeters squared. The question doesn't ask us to round to anything in particular, so I'm just going to leave it like that. And I'm going to write my conclusion here. The area of the paper is 602.64 centimeters squared. And we are done. All right. Now, let's move on to our next example. This example reads, a bathroom mirror is 0.9 meters long and 60 centimeters wide. Now, the question should mention the shape of the mirror, but in this case it doesn't. But I'm just going to assume it's rectangular because they give us the length and the width. Okay? The question is asking, what is the area of the mirror in meters squared? So just like before, we need to draw a diagram. We need to be able to visualize what's happening here. So I'm going to draw a rectangular mirror. The length is 0.9 meters and the width is 60 centimeters. Now recall what I said earlier. After you draw your diagram and after you label it, you need to check the units to see if they're the same. One is in meters and one is in centimeters, so we have a problem. We can't calculate the area if the units are different, so one of them will have to change. How do we know which one? Well, let's read the question. The question says, what's the area in square meters? So it would be wiser to convert the centimeters to meters and leave this one the same. Okay, so what's our first step going to be? We're going to convert the centimeters to meters. Second step, we're going to calculate the area in square meters. Okay, so let's begin. We're going to take 60 centimeters here and we're going to convert it into meters. This one should be simple and straightforward because we're dealing with length. We're not dealing with area. We're not finding a new conversion facts or anything. Okay, so what's the relationship between centimeters and meters? Well, 100 centimeters is equal to 1 meter. So what we're doing here is we're dividing by 100. Okay, so here we're going to also divide by 100. And the answer is 0.6. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lightly cross this off and I'm going to put 0.6 meters. Well, that's nice because now the length and the width are in meters. And step number 1 is complete. Now let's work on step number 2, which is calculating the area, the space inside. So area is equal to length multiplied by width. And in this case, my length is 0.9 meters and my width is 0.6 meters. Now look at how nice this is. The units are the same. That's wonderful. And now we're going to multiply 0.9 by 0.6 using our calculator. And we should get 0.54 meters squared. So we have answered the first question. The area of the mirror is 0.54 meters squared. Now let's look at question B. Question B is saying, well, what is that area? But this time we want it in centimeters squared. So we're taking this number and we're converting it to centimeters squared. Okay, let's do that. So what is 0.54 square meters equal to in centimeters squared? Now to do that, this is very similar to the examples we did in the part 1 of this video. To do that, we need to find the conversion fact for length. So what's the relationship between meters and centimeters? And that is 1 meter is equal to 100 centimeters. Now remember, and I know I say this a lot, this is the conversion fact for length. We're looking for the conversion fact for area. So we will have to make some sort of adjustment. So to go from 1 meter to 1 centimeter, we multiply by 100. Okay? To go from meters squared to centimeter squared, we multiply by 100 twice. Okay? So we're going to take 0.54 and we multiply by 100. We get 54. Then we multiply by 100 again. We get 5,400. So the answer is 5,400. Okay? So let's write a summary sentence. The area of the mirror is 0.54 meters squared or 5,400 centimeters squared. And that's it. In the next video, we are going to explore how to convert metric units of area for larger spaces.